How's it going, guys? Tristan here with Montana Knife Company, and today we're going to be talking about how to make a fire in wet weather. Alright guys, so why would we want to know how to start a fire in wet weather? Anyone that spends a lot of time out in the mountains, mostly hunters, backpackers, are going to run into wet weather if you stay out there long enough. And most of the time, dangerous situations can be avoided by having the proper gear, rain gear, sleeping bags, tents, all of that kind of stuff, and the right knowledge. But every once in a while, it's just nice to have a warm fire when it's rainy or snowy. And if you are to get yourself in a bind, maybe you need to spend the night out and you didn't plan to, you twist an ankle, get hurt, you're waiting for help. Being able to create a fire when it's inconvenient is very, very important, both as a survival skill and just for your general comfort when you're out in the mountains. So the first thing that I do when I'm out starting a fire, especially in wet weather, is I'm gonna take a lot of extra time to gather the materials that I need to make sure that I'm gonna be successful. Most of the reasons why people are unsuccessful with starting fires, especially in wet weather, is that they don't take the time to gather the proper materials. So what that's going to be is dry tinder, something to start my flame off of, and then I like to graduate my materials up as I go. So I like to start with at least, a bundle about 8 inches wide of small sticks, and when I say small, I mean like pencil lead sized. The next group of sticks I'm going to gather are going to be about the width of a number 2 pencil, so a little bit bigger. And then the next group I'm going to grab is probably going to be about finger thickness. So finger to thumb thickness, 3/4 of an inch to an inch. And then I'll grab bigger wood. So once that fire is established, larger pieces to feed it so that it's sustained itself for a little bit longer and puts off more heat. So those are going to be most of the time out in the wild, wrist to arm size thickness pieces of wood. So the next step is going to be setting up my fire lay. And for wet weather, there's one in particular that's definitely a favorite of mine. It involves laying down some sticks on the ground to elevate your tinder up off any wet ground or snow. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to place 2 sticks crossing each other over those pieces of wood, and that's going to allow me to pick up my bundle to create air underneath the fire. From there, I'm just going to sort of log cabin wood or teepee wood on top of my tinder once I get it lit, and then from there I can sort of manage my fire as normal. So the next step, once I have my fire lay set up, is going to be igniting my fire. So the most important thing is that we have a method of starting fire that we feel comfortable with in our kit at all times. For most people, that's going to be a lighter. Just the generic Bic lighters are great. They stand up to a lot of abuse and generally work when they're wet. Some people like to use little flint strikers, little ferrocerium rods. Those work fine, but they take a lot more practice. So whatever you decide to take out there with you, just make sure that you are competent and comfortable with that method of starting a fire. I will start my tinder, and then I'll gradually start adding on small fuel from smallest to largest. It's important not to go too fast here or you will smother your fire. So as I'm doing this, if I start to feel like the fire is running out of oxygen, I can take my 2 cross sticks that are underneath my pile and just lift up a little bit, and that'll create a little bit of an air draft underneath my fire and hopefully pick up those flames a little bit. Once my fire is a little bit more established, I can start layering on larger wood. That'll give me some time to walk away from my fire, to gather more material, to keep it burning longer. But it's important that before I walk away, my fire is well established, and the more wood that you can gather ahead of time, the less frenzied you'll be once you start to light your fire. I don't ever want to be in the situation where I've gathered all my small sticks, I'm lighting it, and all of a sudden I need more fuel and I need to run away from my fire to grab more, but by the time I get back to it, it's already burning out. I never want to be in that situation, so preparation here is really key. So to wrap this all up, starting a fire out in the mountains, especially when conditions are not ideal, is one of the most important skills that you can have as a hunter or an outdoorsman. The reasons for that are pretty self-explanatory, but this really could save your life one day, as well as make your adventures in the mountains a lot more enjoyable. So I hope you learned something from this video, and I encourage you to get out there and practice when conditions are good so that when they're bad, you can be prepared.